Hi there, I'm Tom Field. I'm Senior Vice President of Editorial with Information Security Media Group. Delighted to welcome you to today's webinar. The topic, Supercharge your AWS security with Vectra CDR for AWS. Got a pair of presenters today. They are Akash Gupta, Product Manager, Detection and Response for Public Cloud with Vectra AI, and Vineet Anshuman, WW Alliance Leader Security and AI with AWS. Now, before I turn them over to the two of them, let me give you some background on our session today. Are you ready to elevate your Amazon guard duty to new heights? So in this session today, you will discover how Vectra CDR for AWS can fortify your cloud security, empowering your SOC teams to stay one step ahead of sophisticated threats. Among the points we'll discuss today, how to strengthen existing investments, how to secure hybrid deployments, all about AI-powered attack signal intelligence and end-to-end investigations and response, and finally, how to fill visibility gaps. A little bit of information about my organization. Information Security Media Group is a global education intelligence firm. We're based in the U.S. in Princeton, New Jersey, and you may know us, of course, by any one of our now 37 media properties. These include Bank Info Security, Data Breach Today, and our newest property, AItoday.io. In all, we reach an audience of over 1.3 million security and technology leaders globally, and we give them a daily diet of news, analysis, research, events, and educational programs just like this one. Just a few notes of housekeeping. One, if you have any questions for Akash or Vineet, you can submit them anytime by the chat window on your screen. Now, we won't be able to get to every question today, but for those that we don't answer in the course of this session, we will get responses back to you via email. Should you encounter any technical issues while viewing today's webinar, please take down the email address you see on your screen. If you write to webinars@ismg.io, we've got support staff standing by to help. And a reminder, today's webinar is copyrighted material meant for today's session and individual study purposes only. If you'd like to use any of the information presented today, or if you're looking for customized training materials, please contact us. Delighted to introduce our sponsor, of course. For over a decade, Vectra AI has been researching, developing, pioneering, and patenting AI security centered on delivering the best attack signal on the planet. They call it attack signal intelligence. So stop detecting threats and start prioritizing attacks. To learn more, please visit Vectra AI. Delighted to introduce our speakers today. Of course, up first is Akash Gupta. He's a product manager at Vectra AI, focusing on detection and response for public cloud. He's previously worked in product management, software engineering, and systems engineering for a Fortune 100 aerospace organization, as well as for various startups and large enterprises. And we're joined by Vineet Anshuman. He is WW Alliance Leader, Security and AI with AWS. Vineet is a distinguished tech and business expert with deep expertise in next-gen cloud technologies, security, and AI. His expertise extends to the intersection of cloud networking, security, and AI, where he has not only demonstrated a deep understanding of theoretical frameworks, but has also translated these insights into tangible, patented innovations. With that, we turn you over now to Vineet and Akash. Gentlemen, center stage is yours.
Thanks a lot, Tom. Really appreciate you. Hey, everyone. It's nice to meet you all. Super excited to be here with Vineet from AWS to present how our solutions work together to provide value for our customers. So Vineet's going to kick us off from the AWS side to talk about their solution Guard Duty, after which I'll follow up with the Vectra platform and CDR for AWS piece. Vineet, over to you.
Thanks, Akash. Hi, everyone. Great to be here presenting with our ISV partner, Vectra. So, when you think of the whole cloud migration momentum, our partners and customers across the globe are faced with multiple challenges. The challenges are not only in terms of speed of execution, but also in terms of ensuring there's safety and security. And, they have, I would say a good secured environment and a good way for them to go and roll these migration seamlessly and not lose their peace of mind. So it's very important that when you think of cloud migration, along with speed, agility, you are also kind of considering security as a key parameter. And AWS, along with ISV partners like Vectra, really make it easy for you as a customer to have this migration done seamlessly across your cloud environment. So in today's solution discussion, we'll talk about Amazon Guard Duty and how we work with our ISV partner Vectra to really provide you an end-to-end visibility, threat intelligence, and a really value-added services in terms of providing you consolidated view of your threat and being able to manage your threat seamlessly across your life cycle of cloud migration and working on the workloads on the cloud. So let's talk quickly about Amazon Guard Duty. Amazon Guard Duty is a threat detection service, which is based on the machine learning. It has got integrated threat intelligence to really identify and prioritize your potential threats across your environment. The way it works is, we look at different ways to ingest your logs from different environments within AWS. And we work to really ensure that there's, we detect your threats, identify them, and then be able to give you, I would say information, notification through either Slack channels or emails, to really understand what your threat parameters look like. And once you have understanding on threat parameters, organizations have, then the next action in terms of really addressing those threat parameters. And then Vectra solution kind of comes in to really add a value for providing the end-to-end service from customer standpoint. So we are looking at a simple, I would say Guard Duty service, which can be activated through a one-step, activation process. The good news with the Guard Duty service is, once the service is activated, you don't have to go and enable logs coming from different, AWS service points to go and extract the log. The Guard Duty would do this automatically. And it's got a global coverage, which is, going to help enterprises really to consolidate their threat, and then manage it seamlessly, across multiple environments. So when you think of Guard Duty, there are multiple use cases we have seen that our partners work with on to provide services to our end customers. Some of those use cases are kind of captured here on the high level, but what Akash will do down the slides is he will talk about specific Vectra AI use cases where AWS and Vectra come together to really create a seamless threat intelligence portfolio for the customers and help you really to detect, identify, and then remediate your threat vectors as you go along. So, in terms of the key use cases we're looking at, from the Guard Duty perspective, one is to improve security operations and the visibility, which is one of the key asks which a lot of customers have when you think of, the threat vectors across cloud environments. We help, customers to really have analytics done on top of these aggregated threat vectors, which are identified from different logs across multiple environments. We help identify files containing malware and then ultimately detect and mitigate threats in the environments. So all these customer use cases, I think there's a slide coming in where Akash will really hone in deep down in terms of clarifying how these use cases come together when Vectra AI uses Guard Duty from AWS to provide services to the end customers. With that said, I think I'll let Akash kind of talk more about Vectra AI capabilities and how, the Vectra AI solution, work with AWS Guard Duty to provide this end-to-end, service view around threat intelligence, detection, and remediation from customer standpoint. Akash, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Vineet. So that was a great introduction to AWS and Guard Duty. For those who are not familiar with the Vectra AI, like our brand or company, let me quickly do an introduction of who we are. So we're about 12 years into the security space, based out of the Bay Area. We are a centaur, so we have over 100 million in ARR and presence in over 100 countries. The AI in our name is not new. It's not part of the recent hype cycle in artificial intelligence. That's been in our name when we were founded about 10, 12 years ago. And it's been at the core of what we do and what makes up our attack signal intelligence. So it's our security research, our data science and engineering that come together to build solutions that use AI to surface signal from the noise. And we don't just use the term, we have a lot of credentials to back it up in the form of patents, in the form of AI-driven models, and coverage for things like the MITRE ATT&CK framework, which is a well-accepted framework to track coverage for when it comes to security threats. So what is the problem that Vectra solves for? right? It's fundamentally trying to narrow down the spiral of more. Today's SOC teams are drowning when it comes to tackling sophisticated security solutions. There's more attack surface to deal with: network, cloud, data center, your identity, SaaS. There's more visibility gaps as you onboard more surfaces, which means there's more hidden threats, right? It's a consequence of more noise that rises as part of onboarding more surfaces. There's more alert workload. And this is another big enemy of SOC teams, is dealing with the volume of alerts that the different tools you onboard are sending to you, right? And all this is compounded because the security industry is growing fast, but enablement and training is not keeping up. And alert fatigue leads to analysts and SecOps members actually leave. So what we're seeing is that the spiral of more tools, more coverage required, more gaps is leading to a huge burden for SOC teams. And our mission is to try and solve that or reduce that gap in any way we can. So let's talk about what the Vectra platform looks like, right? So fundamentally, that's what it is, a platform. We take in metadata from different sources or data sources you might be using. Things like network metadata from your data center environments, network packets from cloud environments. We also are able to take in log-based sources. So things like logs from your identity platforms like Azure AD, logs from your SaaS platforms like M365, and logs from public cloud platforms like AWS. We integrate with EDR platforms. That's a space we do not operate in build native detections for, because there's a lot of players out there that do this really, really well, right? So fundamentally what we do is we take in signal from all these sources and we find threats or what's most urgent for SOC teams to look at. And that's sort of where the power of the Vectra platform comes in, right? It's modular, it's real time, all our detections are real time. We're able to deploy for enterprise scale environments rapidly and have an intuitive UX. So what we say is, depending on your business case, whatever surface it is you are using today, send us the metadata from that surface. Vectra will make sense of the noise and tell your SOC teams that from across this infrastructure, what are the most urgent threats for your SOC team to look at? I mentioned AI before, pointing on that a little bit more, right? It's been part of our DNA for the longest time. We're part of the Forbes AI 50 list, and our credentials to back that up are a ton of patents, which our AI models have allowed us to gather. We are the most quoted, most referred vendor in the MITRE Defend framework. And our network effect, right? The fact that we have so many customers allows us to collect a lot of anonymized data. And that is a big restriction in the security industry, is when I'm building AI models, what data do I train it on, which is just as important as the models I build. And our security research, working hand in hand with our data scientists, are actually able to leverage these brilliantly to create models that find signal with high fidelity, reducing noise, and surfacing attack threats in real time. This is a good place to talk about our partnership with AWS, right? So we have worked for years with AWS. We have our security competency. We are an early partner for services like the new Amazon Security Lake. And we're actually built on AWS. So the features that AWS offers everybody in terms of fault tolerance, high availability, scalability, like we are beneficiaries of those capabilities, and that translates through in our product. What's more important is security, right? As a security company, the underlying infrastructure being secure is extremely important to us. And that's why we've chosen AWS to partner with, because it's been really, really beneficial. And the credentials that back up AWS have been great for the Vectra brand to actually build our solution on. So with that, let's dive a little bit into the cloud problem, right? Like, what is Vectra's belief? What we're seeing is that today, every attack is hybrid. Your cloud is an extension of your data center, right? So you start with data center environments, and for the right reasons, and for the business use cases that the cloud enables, you start to move into the cloud, or you're deploying cloud native, right? What we see is advanced attackers that previously would infiltrate one part of your infrastructure, let's say an identity on-prem, and then pivot into the cloud, have now democratized their methods. Think attacker for hire, right? Phishing as a service, where you're now seeing attacks that span these multiple attack surfaces. So being limited to seeing sources just in the cloud is not enough. We're in the business of identifying and remediating hybrid cloud threats, right? Because the metadata coming from these different surfaces is not the same. It's not structured the same, doesn't follow the same format, and is not delivered in the same cadences, right? So network packet data is very different from log data in the cloud. What our argument is that in terms of visibility and threat surface, having all the data to be able to correlate and abstracting that burden away from the SOC teams is paramount. And that's where we come in, right? It's coverage against hybrid threats. And this sounds great in theory, but there are numerous examples of these attacks taking place in the wild. There was a password storage company that's faced an attack recently. There have been numerous cases of nation-state actors like Mango Sandstorm taking place, where hybrid attacks have led to destruction of data in cloud environments. So this is not a theory. This is today's reality, and it's something that should be top of mind for anybody looking to evaluate security solutions. Are they able to protect me against hybrid cloud threats? So that's where the CDR for AWS sort of module of the Vectra platform comes in, right? It focuses on 3 C's that govern pretty much everything we do at Vectra: coverage, clarity, and control. Coverage is real-time coverage for advanced attacker methods across the cloud kill chain. So this is not your odd recon behavior or persistence behavior. This is trying to paint an end-to-end picture from initial access all the way to impact, giving the SOC clear visibility on what's going on. Signal clarity, ensuring that we work across services within the cloud, are able to attribute effectively, and are able to prioritize signal. So it's not just about raising alerts across the kill chain. It's about attributing them to the right principal, the entity you should go question, and prioritizing that entity based on the behavior seen so that the SOC knows exactly who to go talk to. And then control, right? Providing the workflows that are necessary for the SOC to actually action these findings or these principles. How do I investigate? How do I respond to these threats? And this is sort of the platform play that Vectra has taken, is this end-to-end view of coverage, clarity, and providing those workflows to enable investigation and prompt response while integrating with AWS services. I'll touch on that in a minute. So this is our AWS detection portfolio, right? It's a list of our findings across the MITRE framework. So the kill chain is a good way to look for coverage coherency. All the way from initial access to impact, you will see deep coverage for each tactic. We have over 90% MITRE attack coverage for the cloud kill chain. And this is limited only to AWS, right? So if you were to onboard, let's say, the Vectra network product, like this list starts to expand and become more coherent, more cohesive as part of the broader protection the Vectra platform offers. So let's talk about the Vectra and GuardDuty partnership story, right? It's integrated signal from across data sources that Vectra is able to take and make sense of the noise. But we work very, very well with GuardDuty. So let's talk about that real quick. Vineet mentioned the different sources that GuardDuty uses to surface their alerts, right? They're based on threat intelligence, reputation, baseline anomalies, and they encompass a variety of services like containers, they do malware detection, what have you, right? All actions that are surfaced by GuardDuty are attributed to the last temporary credential that took the action. It's the role for the more technical audience here. GuardDuty is region-based, so you'd have to navigate the different regions depending on the kinds of findings. What this means is that if you're migrating to the cloud and you're deployed in one region, GuardDuty is a great solution for you. right? It is able to leverage further AWS tooling to enable investigative and response workflows that integrate directly with AWS. And this is sort of where Vectra comes in, right? Our detections start at real-world attacker behavior level. So we look for multi-step attacker behavior that we've sort of seen replicated in the real world. We focus on true source attribution. So as an attacker, what I usually do is I jump through roles before I take an action. This abstracts my access. What Vectra does is we use AI to trace back the identity for the action through chains of assumed roles to the original actor that took the action. What this means is I won't give you just a role, but I will augment that by saying, you have to go speak with Akash in finance or Claire in engineering about this change. And what that does is it saves your analyst hours of investigation time. Vectra is able to correlate information across regions. So what this does is, from a design perspective, if you're starting to scale your AWS environment, that's sort of where we come in, right? As a hybrid threat detection program, like we cover your network, we cover identity, SaaS, your public cloud AWS, and across regions and across accounts. We are also within the platform able to provide zero query instant investigations and the ability to query raw logs through advanced investigations. So we're often asked, what is the right solution, right? And our view is that they're better together. In conjunction with guard duty, when you use Vectra, you're able to take it to the next level through those features of AI attribution, right? And AI prioritization, using entity-centric attribution to point out who exactly you need to go talk to, takes the findings from guard duty to a whole new level. And this is very, very interesting for us because to deepen our partnership with AWS, as part of integrating Signal, we are looking to, as part of our roadmap, bring in guard duty alerts into the Vectra platform. What that will allow us to do is augment our findings to provide higher fidelity and lower noise alerts for SOC teams. And so when you put the two together, you have the perfect soup. Coming back to the CDR for AWS piece, right? So just summarizing, what is the real value prop? So it's AI-driven detections, right? Focused on surfacing multi-step attacker behavior. It's coverage across your entire footprint that's correlating across regions. We have AI-powered attribution, which is the ability to trace back through chains of temporary credentials to the original actor. AI-driven prioritization, so making sure we're prioritizing what's urgent for the SOC, and then providing the necessary workflows in investigations and response in close partnership with AWS to enable isolation of affected principals and resources and remediating them. So if you look across in clockwise order, it's basically coverage, detections, coverage, clarity in the form of attribution and prioritization, and then control in the form of investigations and response. Coverage, clarity, and control are 3 Cs. And this is the view of what the platform is able to provide, right? End to end, it's not just detections or alerts, but that make up a big chunk of what we're trying to deliver here. When combined with the prioritization layer of AI prioritization and the workflows that enable investigations and response, make up the Vectra platform. Throughout this entire cycle, we leverage native AWS services throughout, right? So on the respond piece, the response workflows we provide integrate deeply with existing AWS services like Lambdas, which enable us to act quickly in a way that's highly scalable and able to stop and isolate resources quickly. Integrate seamlessly with Security Hub to ensure that any actions that need to be taken can be driven by existing workflows that you may have already operationalized. And even Security Lake. We were an early design partner for Security Lake and integrate seamlessly with sending our alerts to and gathering logs from Security Lake. What's really cool about this is that this entire solution is deployed in minutes. And it's deployed in minutes for enterprise scale environments. So you need a 30-minute session with a member of our team to actually get set up and running. That's all it takes. So Vineet mentioned use cases. Let's really dive into some of those use cases that show the power of the Vectra platform and the Vectra platform in partnership with AWS GuardDuty. The way we do this is we talk about attack anatomies, right? So an attack earlier this year was a hybrid attack where LastPass was hacked essentially by a laptop being compromised. That was sort of an on-prem situation, moving into the cloud and pivoting into the cloud. This was an attack that Vectra was able to spot when simulated, right? End to end, not just from the beginning to not just a beginning recon behavior, for example, but we were able to prioritize the principle, the compromise principle, all the way through the kill chain, and we're able to stop the attack when this was simulated on our end. I mentioned hybrid attacks, and we should talk about that. So this was an example of an attack we saw at a customer of Vectra, where an attacker essentially had taken over their Azure AD, right? So they social engineered their way in, took over Azure AD, and then escalated privileges on their Azure AD group to gain access to AWS. This is the hybrid piece, right? They then pivot into AWS, a connected cloud environment. These are trusted relationships. So your web access firewall isn't going to stop this. Once you're in the cloud, again, trusted relationships, your posture tools are not going to stop this. The rules in your SIM will not stop this. Progression through the kill chain before they try to make changes to a storage service, EBS, in AWS, and we're able to stop the attack there, right? If you notice, the green segment is sort of where we've prioritized this entity. So what we're saying is that all the way till the impact stage, tracing it back to where the first access into AWS was made, and even before, because we were getting logs from Azure AD, we're able to paint the picture for the SOC team and say, look, this is where you stopped the attacker, but look back at all of this that's been done. And let's take you back further into the data source they pivoted from. And that's the impact of the Vectra platform. This is an example of us stopping an attack with GuardDuty at a customer environment in action, right? An attack took place. The SOC analyst gets an email, an alert from the platform that says, you need to go look at something. It is a prioritized account. They look back and they're able to see that GuardDuty had fired alerts against access in an AWS environment after credentials were compromised, using their threat intelligence, right? What we then see is that the attacker performs defense evasion techniques to disable CloudTrail logging. This is also captured by both GuardDuty and Vectra. And now the analyst has context that this might be malicious, right? What they do is they then look in the Vectra platform to see the different steps that this attacker has taken since then. The attack is prioritized, the principle is prioritized, and we're able to stop the attack before any impact is done. And that's what's critical, right? It's not just about stopping an attack post-impact. It's about ensuring that the attack is stopped before the incident occurs. And that's what we really specialize in. This is a great example of Vectra and AWS GuardDuty working hand in hand to ensure that the entire progression, all the way from access using reputation and signatures, and progression through the kill chain using other sophisticated methods, is captured in an end-to-end kill chain. So that was sort of the Vectra solution and its partnership, close partnership with AWS. I'm going to hand it back to Vineet, who's going to touch on how do you actually procure these solutions and the power of the AWS marketplace. Vineet, over to you.
All right. Thanks, Akash. That was an amazing briefing on Vectra solution and the use cases. I hope the audience got good value from listening in to the earlier part. So now we're going to the business part of how you would typically procure from AWS marketplace. When we work with ISVs like Vectra, one of the mission that we have is how do we really simplify the whole life cycle from procurement to the consumption of the services, and make it as simple as click of a button, the same experience that you have, in leveraging any of the AWS services from our cloud experience perspective. So let's kind of take a deep dive on what it means to buy from marketplace. How does it look like? Why we have a marketplace, and how does ISVs like Vectra leverage marketplace to offer their solutions and make it really simple and easy for customers to buy it from the marketplace. So very high level view of for some of you who are not familiar with marketplace on the AWS. AWS Marketplace basically helps you to find, subscribe, deploy, and govern third-party software, data, content, and machine learning models and professional services, which you can buy from AWS Marketplace just by click of a button. Now, what it means is, the services are basically hosted on our marketplace, and for customer to go and leverage those services, they just need to kind of buy it from AWS Marketplace, just the way you'll buy any of our services in the cloud. So it's a simple way to really find what we are looking for in terms of different services, and we have spectrum of service offerings that we have on the marketplace across multiple different ISVs and technology partners that we have on marketplace, right? So you can basically find, subscribe, as I said, deploy it, and then have a governance around all these third-party softwares. So as I said, AWS Marketplace can help you to really innovate and transform. What does it mean for our customers is, you don't spend, and also at the same time, the ISV partners, that you don't spend cycles, on figuring out how do you, go and, buy those services. And rather you would focus on innovation and transforming your business. You focus more on things which are very close to your own business, right? So the whole journey in terms of simplifying, and then focusing more on your internal innovation than the infrastructure, to kind of really go and access and buy those services. Second, it helps you to go and migrate, and modernize your, existing infrastructure and applications, right? So basically, you have got tons of services that you need to really modernize your, infrastructure. We just bring it, close to you, and basically extend the same experience that you've been having in terms of buying other services, making it, one single place to, go and procure the services seamlessly. The third piece is around control and governance, which is very critical for a lot of our customers and partners. What that means is, because you have one single place where you're kind of buying the services, you have governance and control around what is being brought, and from that perspective, you have a seamless view of how you manage procurement of these services from the marketplace. And then most important is, how do you really optimize at scale without really impacting, your speed of innovation and your own growth, in terms of being able to modernize the infrastructure and have this digital transformation as part of your cloud migration journey. So if you look at a typical buyer journey on the AWS marketplace, this is how it looks like. So you could buy from marketplace as a self-service offering, which is the option out there. You can buy it from as a private offer, which are again custom tuned to based on a specific requirements customers may have from ISV perspective. So the ISV would work with AWS marketplace team to kind of really create a specific private offer, which the customers can buy based on their specific demands. And last but not the least is to the channel partners, which is where the channel partners or distributors would bundle in their specific ISP solution, in this case Vectra solution, and still be able to leverage the marketplace to sell these services to the end customers. Now, what it also helps is it helps to maintain the direct relationship between the ISVs and the channel partners with whom you have been working for many years without having to disrupt any of existing models of buying services from these channel partners. From Vectra standpoint, Vectra offers all the three modes of buying options. If you have any, I would say requirement, you can start with any of the three options depending on what is relevant to you from the requirement standpoint. And the Vectra AI representative can help you with all these options as we move along. So really to sum up, the whole idea of marketplace is to really help, customers have, the lower down their total cost of ownership, right? So which means that you're not spending, a lot of money in setting up this whole procurement, system and investing cycles in terms of, being able to buy those services, from your favorite ISV, vendor, in this case, Vectra, and then at the same time create a value, and create experience which is very important from our customer standpoint, right? Because if you can buy the services seamlessly, it helps you to improve your time to market. Obviously we see more and more seamless way in which customers can then leverage some of these services to build their infrastructure or modernize the infrastructure as they kind of move forward in the journey. So in essence, the whole partnership with Vectra AI, and AWS, not only from the technology standpoint, but also, we simplify the procurement journey by ensuring that all these, software applications that's available from the ISV is available to you on the marketplace just by click of a button. So with that said, I'll hand it back to Akash, and then let him take it forward.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Vineet. Yeah, so I think it's to conclude just to say that the Vectra platform in partnership with AWS is able to provide a really unique and differentiated value for customers looking for security solutions. The call to action here would be to set up, to find more information at vectra.ai, where we can touch base with you on the capabilities in further detail, technical presentations, demos, onboarding, POVs. We do offer a trial for the product, so no risk trials, easy to set up, right? So please reach out. We're happy to answer any questions. Again, would like to thank Vineet for his time on the AWS side. With that, Tom, I'll hand it back to you. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Akash, Vineet, thank you so much. We appreciate your insight. And of course, we do have some time for questions now. I want to remind our attendees, if you have questions for our panelists, you've not submitted them yet, do so now. We won't be able to get to every question, but those questions, again, that we can't answer today, we'll get responses back to you via email. First question I have, and Vineet, this is for you. You talked about marketplace and such during the presentation. Sum it up. How is it easiest for customers to procure the service?
Yeah, so when you think of customers, procurement journey, typically they would have to buy hardware and then separate software, and then that takes, quite a bit of time in terms of going through multiple cycles, it's spread across, sometimes working through different partners and so on and so forth. What AWS does is working, in closely with partners, ISV partners like Vectra AI, is to really simplify the journey, right? And the simplification is not only in terms of how easy it is to buy the services from the marketplace, but also being able to have one single I would say place and platform to kind of buy the services, have the billing integrated into it, and then creating that seamless experience from the end customer standpoint to be able to do it on the basis of how they want it, right? They can do it on self-service, they can have a fine-tuned custom offer based on their requirement, or they could buy in from the existing relationship with the channel partners, which again is supported through the marketplace, right? So the customers have all the flexibility and options in terms of buying these services without having to compromise on time to market, and at the same time having a seamless experience across the board.
Very good. Akash, a question for you. You mentioned Vectra will ingest AWS guard duty findings. How will Vectra use them?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It helps to quickly pivot into how Vectra does their research, right? Our security research teams that are comprised of white hats, ex-gray hats, look at the threat landscape and come up with ideas that we'd want to provide protection for. That then work in close tandem relationship with our data scientists who model these threat vectors, right? And are able to provide those solutions in the platform. And that's sort of where we see the AWS guard duty findings coming in. There are some sets of alerts that guard duty is able to generate that are very, very valuable, right? And that's around the threat intelligence piece, that is around the malware detection piece that Vineet mentioned earlier, but that's also around their ability to use AI to detect anomalies in baselines. And I think what Vectra can do is use those alerts to augment the research or the data science models on our side. not just as pass-through alerts, but additional juice for the algorithms that Vectra is able to develop to provide value for customers. So in the end, it's going to be this one cohesive solution that leverages guard duty findings and augments it with the Vectra detections to provide value for customers.
Very good. So additional questions. One, how does an entity-centric based approach to threat detection work?
Absolutely. So this is one of those things where when developing a security solution, one of the challenges we had was like, what is it that we surface to the analyst, right? Sending just alerts to the analyst, as a lot of security solutions do, drowns them in what we call alert noise, leading to alert fatigue. Mentioned the spiral of more earlier, right? So more tools, more alerts, more alert fatigue, more noise. And what Vectra wanted to do was try to figure out a way where we're able to attribute behaviors to actionable entities. And that's where the whole concept of attributing to identities comes into play. So the entities we attribute to are identities. That way, when I am surfacing an identity to you, I'm not telling you that the behavior was malicious. I'm taking you a step further and saying the behavior was malicious and it was taken by person X. So now you have that context, right? Now you know who it is that you need to go talk to. And that's sort of where the attribution and further prioritization piece comes into play in the Vectra platform.
Next question. How long does it take to deploy Vectra CDR for AWS?
Yeah, this is a very simple one, minutes, right? You need at most a 30-minute session with our team, or you could go the self-serve route at the AWS Marketplace, like Vineet mentioned, to actually onboard the solution. It's really, really simple. And that's why we say that when somebody asks us, like, how long will it take? Or do I need to, cordon off my SOC team to come talk to you about setting this up? The answer is always a no, right? It's extremely easy. Our deployment guide walks you through how to procure the solution and how to set it up. It's all automated, right? All you have to deploy, and we use native AWS services like CloudFormation to be able to deploy this at scale. So it's super simple. It should be a non-negotiable for you to at least turn on and try out.
Very good. Quick follow-up question. Is Vectra limited to just AWS?
No. And I think that's another beautiful part about the Vectra platform is when we say hybrid threat detection, it extends beyond the cloud, right? Mentioned data center, mentioned identity, mentioned SaaS, and mentioned public clouds. So we're already on AWS. We're developing a similar solution for other public clouds, and we also integrate with EDRs. So at Vectra, what we're trying to do is give you this primary pane of glass where you're able to see threats from data that's been correlated across your various surfaces. In this primary pane of glass, prioritized for your analysts, and are able to further investigate and take responsive actions right from the Vectra platform.
Important last question for both of you. Where can our attendees go to learn more about the solution?
Absolutely. I'll cover the Vectra piece,
Yep.
and then Vineet, I'll hand over to you for the AWS side. So our site would be your one-stop shop, Vectra.ai, to learn about the platform, the different modules within the platform. So things like the network piece, the identity piece, but as relevant to this audience, the cloud piece, right? So how we position in AWS, our capabilities there, and how you can reach out for a free trial to actually get set up and try out the solution. So the website would be your one-stop shop. Vineet, over to you.
Yeah, no, sure. I think adding on to what Akash just mentioned, there are tons of places where you can get more information about the whole Vectra AI solution. One is starting with AWS Marketplace. We list down the clear features, what customers and partners get, once they buy the service from the marketplace. But if you really want to learn more about AWS services, well, there are tons of avenues. There are a lot of training portals. We do offer our own training program as well. As part of learning and training. So there are a lot of ways in which you can get to learn and get familiar with the AWS services. The good news is a lot of these services are built on Vectra. We covered some of these concepts in our session today, and it will be good for our audience here to kind of have a quick understanding if they're not familiar with all those services that we spoke about.
Very good. Vineet, Akash, again, thank you so much for your time, for your insight. Thank you for answering these questions as well.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks for having us.
Well, thank our attendees. We know you took time out of your day to attend this session. We're grateful for that. And I do trust that you've taken away some excellent perspectives to enable you and your organization to be even better prepared to tackle the cloud security issues we talked about here today. As always, I look forward to seeing you again at one of our upcoming sessions. And until then, for Information Security Media Group, I'm Tom Field. Thank you for your time and attention today.